All right. Thanks for being here. Alfred. Oh, let's cut that music off there. Alfred Harrell, depending on which part of the country you're from, writer, poet, podcaster. What's taking up most of your time these days of those things?
Podcasting is taking my life over for the first time in like 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
Um, because since I'm dove into using StreamYard, realized a number of people don't want to download the app, like Podbean, which I do the audio through, and get back on Match, where you discovered me. Um, Podcasting. Currently, I have guests on my show all the way through August right now. Some of them 2 shows a day, like yesterday. And the poetry part, I just before we logged on, realized on my link tree I can play an audio sample of my book through Spotify directly on my link tree. So now when people go to my link tree and I get 10, 15 hits a week on that because of one of my side gigs, which I'm not getting to here so much. Once they click that button, boom, they hear my book, like the YouTube channel. So podcasting, pushing the book, and getting behind that, pushing the print on demand store. Like I'm wearing my T-shirt today, which is my slogan. This is my slogan. No matter what happens, I win. Uh, there's a story associated with that too. My wife redesigned the lettering. She hated the way I did my work, so she improved upon it. So, because
Nice.
we both share our creative sides. Um, I'm even refer to your show if she's willing to go up there. But
What how'd you get started with podcasting then?
okay, real simple story, bro. I'm what I call an old-fashioned Google blogger, a WordPress blogger. So I was writing things out way back when, and scrolling through Facebook in the early days, I saw an ad for Anchor FM. And I'm like, oh, podcasting, what's that all about? And they were like, you need a cell phone and a headset. And and then I'm like, do I write it out? And around the time I was about ready to, I don't know, but my eldest son ended up having some knee surgery. And I was speaking to him around that same time frame about everything. And he, like, Dad, just tell you a story. I got thinking my story because he divorced from his mom, story, backstory, and all that. But he was saying, like, tell you a story. I'm like, what story? Uh, tell you a story about how you were conditioned to fail at everything, but you're not a failure. In so many areas, you're not a failure. You've been a dad, been this, been that. And so I'm like, what should I call it? Preconditioned to fail. Then in that same time frame, I went on to Facebook browsing. There was Anchor FM advertising podcasting. So I'm like, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna tell my story through a podcast. I got a headphone, I got earbuds, and I got a cell phone. And boom, life is about more than living was born. um, over 8 years ago, 8 years ago this September, I believe it was. And so that so have a look back to blogging or anything in that sense anymore. It's all podcasting, and primarily audio. And that's how I started. Preconditioned to Fail was the very first podcast episode. And I talked almost an hour telling my personal story of
Is that
trauma,
how
childhood trauma.
the format for all your podcasts, or is it just you? Do you have guests?
The guest part came about shortly thereafter when I realized with Anchor FM, I could bring guests on audio form. And we pre-recorded. Some I met in Greensboro, face to face where I was living at. We set up Panera Bread coffee shop and pulled
Nice.
out the headsets and we joined together and we did it like that. And then I've evolved to like Bluetooth mics and mobile equipment I keep in my car now. um, um, this past last month, this is June. May was busy. Um, in May, I surrendered to StreamYard using it, set up an account, cancel the account, restarted the account, um, went over to Match again for the third time, created an account, having solid product this time, a book. Podcast has been around for a while. Been tweaking that first week out. I'm like, all these people want to be on my show for real. And I
Nice.
don't want. And I said I don't want to do audio and YouTube. YouTube. I don't have that many followers on YouTube. I have like 145 now because of StreamYard. It's done grown like 10 people in the last couple of weeks.
What's-
Uh, so podcasting is taking over to the point of yesterday I did 2 shows. I'm on your show today. I've got a show tomorrow. I've got a show Thursday, and I've got my first Saturday show in over 5 years. Now I'm
mm,
using Calendar, somewhere in Europe, I think. No, he says Denver, Colorado, but he streams a different time. So yeah, podcasting is taking over. It's a great platform, and you have honored me with giving me a chance to tell my lengthy story. So it may be an hour and a half or longer, who knows?
Okay.
But I'm here to answer the
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
The StreamYard, when I started doing it, because it hasn't been that long, 9 years, 8 years, a pretty good run. The
Mm,
that's not me. That's you. I've
okay.
only been doing it maybe a year or a little more,
Mm-hmm.
and learned a whole lot in that amount of time. I mean, you can get super technical on things if you want.
Mm-hmm.
You could record audio and video and then separate them in a program and then
Mm-hmm.
compress the audio and take out pauses and
Mm-hmm.
then rematch the video. And that's cool if you like doing that. But StreamYard is nice, I found, because it's everything in one, and then you don't have to worry about taking it all apart. You still can if you want to.
Yeah.
And then it has those clip features, what they started with the AI
Mm-hmm.
maybe a few months ago. And that's working pretty good. Maybe that's been longer than a few months. And I like the simplicity of it once you get to know how to use it, which we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about before we started, which is
Mm-hmm.
you get a program that you like, learn all the parts you like about it, and then it gets easier to do the podcast, the technical
Mm-hmm.
side of it, because the planning and all that is a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
For
get
me,
guests?
planning is
How
like
do you,
45 minutes.
mm, yeah,
I keep it simple, basic script, boom, in and out. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, yeah. What do you do like leading up to a podcast, like the 30 minutes before, the 5 minutes before, like a breakdown like that?
okay, what I basically do, like for my show tomorrow, I've got to go in and pull what I like from my guest bio on Match and build a theme around it. And, and then I have a separate file now. I'm doing guest again in my Google Documents. Um, so once I pull a theme out of there, it takes me a few minutes. I've been doing this freaking forever. Plus, I love to write and put words together and talk a lot, a lot. Um, then I will save it as a Google document, and I will email what I call the show notes to my guest, along with my disclaimer um, included. And then the email will let them know 5 to 15 minutes before showtime. I'm gonna email them the link to StreamYard. And this morning I was testing all the four areas I use it for. So I use StreamYard for LinkedIn, Facebook, which I have over 2,000 followers on Facebook, Instagram. I tested that this morning, and YouTube. So yesterday was the first time I streamed on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Now
Oh,
tomorrow I'm gonna do Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at the same time for the first time ever with my guest tomorrow. And then when it's all over, I use the beautiful feature of StreamYard, which I can understand how to use. I download the audio and the video, and well, I don't have to do video anymore. Now I did YouTube. Now YouTube automatically is over there for me. So now I'll download the audio tomorrow, and then I upload it to my primary site, which is Podbean. Podbean, the audio provider that I use. The reason I do that is um, it's taking me away from recording through Podbean. And every time I want to bring a guest on, the app is one of those apps where they ask the people to install the app. And I'm
mm,
like, we don't want to install another app on our phone. We don't use another app. So now, because of StreamYard, I'm able to take the audio file, which has been created for me, and upload it into Podbean. And since I've been using StreamYard and audio file movement in the last 2 weeks, I picked up 3 other countries already
mm,
in 3 weeks, less than 4 weeks. Um, Ireland, I picked up three or four other countries in less than 4 weeks by simply uploading the file to Podbean because and Podbean lets me know they're listening into on Apple or Android. But the point is, I picked up 3 or 4 more countries by simply uploading a file that I would normally would have had to get someone to put an app on, which they didn't want to do no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
The nice thing of StreamYard too is like with Zoom, you don't even have to have Zoom download. You have to have Zoom downloaded to use it.
right,
And as you said,
all the
being
extra
able
stuff.
to send a guest just a link and they can click onto it and then they're in. Yeah.
And then
Makes it a whole
then I
lot
give
easier.
them the episodes. Yeah, then I give them the episodes where it's at. Currently, I'm struggling. I was in an Apple podcast. I changed my little logo thingy. I ain't even figure out how to get it right yet to get it back on Apple. But life is about more than living. I don't want to keep saying I. It's my podcast. I'm just the voice for the podcast. I used to think Alfred. No, it's the podcast. It's the people that make the podcast great. Uh, but life is about more than living is on 8 platforms, I think. iHeartRadio, Spotify. So when I send the links out within 24 hours, Spotify, iHeart picks it up, the same audio file. So and then it's also Google Play, Pod, iHeart, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, Google Play, Samsung, Amazon Music has it. So it automatically goes to Amazon Music within 24 hours, 48 hours. And a host of others. I can't remember the names. When someone
Mhm.
logs into the extra website on the desktop to see all the places it can be heard at. But those are the top ones: iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Play Store.
Do you put the video on Spotify?
No, I don't. Not yet. Spotify wants that. I'm having that same. Spotify currently had the same issue I had with Apple about the thingy. So I haven't figured out how to put video on Spotify yet. So I'm just primarily trying to build my YouTube channel off because in the long game for me is to like with StreamYard. One of my guests I was able to do I took the reels off of StreamYard. So I get more traction on reels on YouTube and more people on YouTube.
Mhm.
I'm trying to hit that magic number of 1,000. So I start getting some compensation from it. I was grandfathered into YouTube before Google took it over. I didn't understand the value of that. So I get to build all over again. But
Mm.
it's StreamYard has helped a lot. And now I know I'm going directly to it. And I've changed my showtime. I'm going starting July. It'll be 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., which a lot more people are listening to what I do, according to what the numbers are saying in the evening or early morning. So I'll be doing what we're doing now at 7 o'clock in the evening, Eastern time.
Do you
Then I'll
find
pick
that
up my.
people prefer to listen to a live podcast versus a recorded one?
I've discovered a lot, yeah, because I'm play off my wife's show, does Facebook Live and it streams the same way through StreamYard. They have theirs locked in as a group, but they get a lot of people to the point they win some awards in the network they're in because they're live streaming. So for me, thus far, it's helped me tremendously by streaming through YouTube and being live. YouTube was uploading, even my very first live yesterday. I've already picked up 1 or 2 subscribers, but it's simply feeding it live through YouTube instead of uploading it into YouTube. So yeah, I'm discovering the world has changed since the days of audio only when I started 8 years ago.
Yeah, I like listening to podcasts, but I also like the option for the video because
Yeah.
if somebody says, look at this thing, or they show a clip or whatever, you just want to put a face with the name, then
Hmm.
it's nice while you're cutting grass that you're going along, listening to your
Yeah.
thing, and then you can stop for a second and watch a video.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Because and for me, it's putting a face to the voice now. Um, some folks have told me you sound like an old Southern gentleman, and
Mm,
I'm like, I'm African American. You could still be a Southern gentleman, but that's not what they
yeah.
meant by old Southern gentleman of the deep South. So like, okay.
Get
So
yourself a
I laugh.
pinstripe suit.
Yeah, I just I laugh about it because I've seen, and I know this is not a shameless plug for StreamYard, but it's helped me to grow my audience so much. And when I start doing those private streams, I can't. They don't have it set up for mobile for guests from what I researched, but I can still do YouTube live now. And because of StreamYard, I have more people subscribing to my YouTube. So I can take my little joystick out, my little tripod out, set my big banner sign up, which is freaking 6 foot tall with the podcast on it, my old logo image on it. And I can go YouTube live in the park now because I have someone that's there because of what we're doing now. Like you said, you can see the face. So if I'm out here,
Mm.
decide to go downtown Cary on a Saturday where I actually live at, and the market is there, and people shopping, I can do that kind of content now because of YouTube Live having enough people sent there because of StreamYard as a podcast. Does that make sense?
It does. How did you pick you might have answered it a little already. How'd you pick your format for your show as far as the topic that you talk about or topics?
Uh, the format I pick my I pick my topics basically. I have the basic stuff that bring people to my page: society and culture, politics, religion, Christianity, uh, life experiences. But the topics, though those are heavy, basic things, they all have to circulate back for me to my name of my show. That life is truly about more than living.
Mm.
Regardless of how the topic is, there has to be some aspect in it that reminds not only my guests, myself, but those who may hear the podcast, that wherever you're at in life, this time span we have between birth and the grave, make it about more than just living and eking a living out. Find something you love to do, whether you do it to get paid. Me, I walked away from working for someone else on a regular basis February 7th. My first day of self employment was February 8th of this year. And so this doesn't pay yet, but it will open up the doors where people want to hear me hear my voice, but I can't get paid because I don't charge anyone to be on my podcast, and I don't pay to be on nobody's podcast. But that's the core of it. It has to be that. So when you ask me that question, it goes back to what can be said to encourage not only myself but those I'm engaging with to find that little thing. When I was growing up near the coast as a kid, it was one of my teachers. I remember saying, "What do you want to do? Get a degree in underwater basket weaving?" Because we grew up
Yes.
near the coast. So I'm like, "If that's what you want to get a degree in, that makes you happy. That's life is about more than living." What can I say to you to pursue that? What can you say to me that we can have a conversation about how you can pursue that? Sounds
What
kind of
kind of
comical.
what kind of plans do you have for the podcast as far as like technological changes, like different cameras or different equipment, or are you going to keep it the way it is?
I'm gonna keep it really simple to the point like it is. The only change I will make will be when I, at some point, do panel discussions. Bring in two or three more people, and that will be probably from my world of people I know, or I will reach out to some people on LinkedIn or something. Oh, that's the other one. I tested live streaming on LinkedIn, so so my podcast is tied in with LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are the four places I live stream to as of today because I tested them out this morning. Make sure all that part works on my simple system. So yeah, uh, I'm tied in LinkedIn because I'm in pursuit of storytelling or inspirational speaking gigs, and video is one of the best way to get it out there. I think.
Okay. And then with keeping track of guests, you said Google Docs is what you use. Do you put it in like a spreadsheet or something else like that? You keep track of who you've asked to be on, who's responded, who's been on. How do you keep that straight?
Okay, with the Google Documents is where I create the show content and the guests, and currently with guests coming on now, I've restarted my numbers over from one. So as far as the Google Documents go, the show numbers are not one, but so like one of the guests they had on yesterday talking about immigration, and the other one was talking of better services for veterans, things of that sort. Uh, by by storylines being saved briefly in Google Documents, I'm able to go back there, which have their email. I don't say information there, and or it's also saved in my email box, like view, so I can reach out to them and say, "Hey, you want to revisit that topic and
Mm.
do a part two on it?" I don't have to go directly through matching no more. Um, and the veteran individual, he's interested in doing another show because we could have went on and on and on and on and on. Uh, he talks about the Christianity aspect of it as well. So how do I go back? That's how I go back. And also, since I was using Square, that saves all the information to phone numbers as well as email address. Because my minimum requirement to come to my show is I need a phone number, but an email address I can send the StreamYard link to. So I have the email saved over there. And now I switched over to
Okay.
Calendly today because Square was acting up. And I'm like, I ain't got time for this. People want to come on my show. That's how I ended up being booked all through August because I got guests booked now through Calendly and it links back through Match more easily than Square does. So that's another change. You have to have changes I made. I'm switched over to Calendly for booking. So now I'm able to collect the same information on a service provider that's strictly for scheduling,
Yeah.
not a bunch of other stuff.
Calendarly, I've used Calendarly through other people, like scheduling
Hmm.
things with other people's shows. I don't use it myself, but I just use regular email with the idea, this is my rationale for it, that if
Hmm.
I can send an email and have communication with somebody, then I'm pretty sure they're going to show up when the show starts. Like
Hmm.
having the no call, no show is disappointing because you get ready for the topic. You're doing whatever planning you did for the show, and then if they either cancel at the last minute or they don't cancel, they just don't show up, then that's disappointing. And I
Well,
find that if you have like a email going back and forth, you're more likely that the show is going to happen versus they're
now
not going
that
to show up.
right now that's the other leg of it. I just don't rely on that system. I don't have the no show part built into it, but what I have is a 48-hour cancellation window built into it. So if I don't hear anything from you within 48 hours, I'm gonna reach out to you directly through email to make sure you're still on.
Mm,
So I do a combination of what you're talking about because I don't the no show no that's tied to no cost. I don't to me that no show thing it's just ugh. So I'd
yeah,
rather have the 48-hour window to alert me to say I need to double check on this person and see if they're still interested.
that's a good idea.
And and
And then
and
and
if
then to keep
they
track of.
yeah, and I
Go.
keep track of it because when I do this content, I put the email in my topic, so I can hit Google Documents and still email them directly from Google Documents. So I do a follow-up email in addition to the technology part. My reason for Calendly is because my other things I do in life, it's easier for me to look at my phone and say, "Oh, I got this happening today," and make sure I'm in place for it. Square was working great. The Square is more for selling and things of that sort I've
Mhm.
discovered, which is cool because that's why I was able to move my beautiful book like 5 copies last month. I moved like $52 and some cents, almost $70 worth of books last month uh,
That's nice.
because I have contactless pay on my phone. Uh, I'm in a gig type of work, which I don't want to say because I don't know. The internet's a funny place for getting information out there. I'm in a gig type of work where I have a lot of exposure to people. I would say it like that. And so when they scan the QR code, I've associated with some signage I carry everywhere. I like scan the QR code or scan my digital business card, and then oh, that's what your book looks like, beautiful cover, yada yada. I'm like, I have some extra copies. You want to buy one? And they're like, "Huh, online. I said, no, you have to buy it online. I understand some people don't like shopping online. Some do, some don't. I contactless pay. and I take American Express, debit, you name it. There's not a form of money I cannot take except for Zelle or Vino. So,
Mm.
like, okay, no problem, Alfred. Uh, Cover design. I like what you're talking about. Your story. All right, how much? Boom. Tap my phone.
Is your book available online as well? Also,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I'm currently pushing everybody towards Spotify because Spotify sells it with shipping and handling for what I sell it for. I sell it for 15. Spotify shipping and handling is about $15. Um, it's available on Amazon um, for 20 some dollars. Google Play, Apple Bookstore sells it for like $12.99. Spotify, I believe, is currently selling it for $11.99. Uh, for those who are not into paperback, they love audiobook, audio format, they can get on their phone. Not a Kindle, a true audiobook uh, for whatever price, $9 to $10. Spotify, the difference in Spotify is this though, which I really like because it was actually released on Spotify on my wedding day. Didn't a
okay.
publisher didn't even tell me it was coming out on my wedding day. I'm a newlywed. I got married October 8th, 2023, and that's the day Slick got released on Spotify. So I send people over there because people are familiar with that brand. They're familiar with Spotify and
October
Amazon.
October
8th, 2020.
2023.
Yeah, I'm a newlywed.
I don't know if I call that a newlywed now. I mean, we're in 2025 already.
Well, my wife says we ain't the 2 year mark yet. Hope she ain't heard me.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
She's like the whole newlywed experience of 2 years. Traditional. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Very
And
well. Very well.
some things we men have to leave alone. I hope
Mm,
she'll hear this eventually.
you're right. Right. I mean, the best advice I would give to somebody that's getting married is understand that there's going to be a list of things for you to do, and that list never ends. So pace yourself.
Well, for
Right?
me,
Pace yourself.
I was married 21 years the first time. So
You
I
opted
would
out,
say,
you took the opt out.
well, I don't go too much of that outside of the book. Keep it really brief, even in the public arena, out of because respect for myself and certain things, unless I'm one on one
Hmm.
with you
Hmm.
privately. But I will say this publicly: I had a good marriage, but I'm in a great marriage now. But the difference is, and I would say this. I've said this to other younger people: if you want to get married when you're young, okay, but ask yourself, have you grown to the place where you can know who you are? And I was 45 years old, ending a marriage before I started that journey into who I am. I don't regret those years, but it came with a lot of what else? Some good therapy, some good conversations. I still struggle in a lot of ways at age of 62. So I took that leap to end up in a better place. And the to-do list now is not so much a to-do list. It's a how we're going to move list because she's a creative in her own right. She's a business owner in her own right. She's accomplishing things I'm still aiming to accomplish. So pillow talk is not only personal talk, it's business talk. It's like I said, she has her show tonight every Tuesday night, and they have a period where they take a break from it and just screen pre-recorded shows. But they have, but she's a creative with her bestie. So they have to take conversations to have. The challenge for me has been to listen better, not to listen better, because I'm kind of old school. As a man my age, we say we do, we move. Having someone who wants to move with you and help you to move better, it's not a negative. Uh, I tie her in the script for my podcast because when she's ready, she will be doing the one hosting an episode of Life is Up More Than Living. But she's ready to do her own thing on my side. I'm not trying to go over her side and do none of that stuff, but I have been a guest on their show though.
Hmm.
Yeah, April National Poetry Month. Uh, but I made sure I included her to give her another option in addition to what she's already doing. Because as a certified life coach and the things that she's done in her life, she could add a different spell to it. We have one episode, I think, two maybe that we recorded together. But that's the temperament in the marriage part. 2 years out, almost getting better at it. Not that it's a competition, it's more of a partnership. But I'm practicing that word.
Nice.
Like I said, I fumbled and dropped the ball a lot of StreamYard, but I had a coach upstairs that could have told me, guided me through the process. And it would have been like, boom, this is easy. But I chose not to.
Yeah, I think oftentimes people think marriage is the finish line, but it's a starting line.
No,
It's a starting line for
starting
sure.
line, starting line. And it's easier when when you're working with someone that's kind of in your same mental and emotional space than
Hmm.
someone who's not. So it's like I'm surprised she didn't ask me. Only basic thing today was, uh, "What time is your show?" And I said, "Please get up," because she works from home. So because I'm kind of finicky about my little space when I'm up here in my space. Now when we start sharing a home office together again, that's gonna be. But anyway, back to what you're saying. I can go on and on. You got a talker here.
All right. So with your keeping track of guests on, and what is your success rate of people you ask to be on the show that end up being on your show?
Since I've started over again with guests, 99%.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
98%. I've had two people. One was a time zone conflict. Uh, they misunderstood. Somewhere the ball got dropped that they're in Texas and my 12 p.m. is not their 12 p.m. And the first one was me trying to navigate around StreamYard and couldn't get things logged on fast enough. So of everybody I've had, since I started last month, I've only lost two people. Everybody else has understood the issues behind the scenes by means of the email process that you and I both use, and they've
Mhm.
rescheduled out.
Okay,
So,
that's pretty good.
uh,
My success rate for people like on that I talk to on matchmaker.fm, not
yeah,
matchmaker.com,
or whatever them things.
matchmaker.fm.
That one,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Thank you.
is about maybe in the 40s, 40%
What is?
of people that I send a message out to that say, "Hey, it's a podcast about this, this, and this. You're invited to be on. If you have the time, let me know." And yeah, I'd say most of that is people that just don't respond, which is strange because you're on a website where you're looking to be on a podcast.
Thank
And
you.
then the other are people that they say, yeah, send me some information, and then they just drop off communication. And then you probably
Hmm.
have 5% of that, which are the no call, no shows. Like I had
Hmm.
earlier today, like I was supposed to do two today, but then the other one just didn't show up.
Hmm.
And I think I see a lot more of that with when you're going through services where somebody will have a service that they're running on one of those websites,
Hmm.
matchmaker.fm in
Hmm.
this case,
Right.
where they're trying to match people up. So they're playing a middleman for the website. And then I think they probably don't communicate well with the people they're scheduling. And I never
Hmm.
get a direct email for them, which is what I try to
Hmm.
get. So I
Hmm.
can send them not only the link for the day of, but just communicate with them leading up to it. So yeah, every now and then you get the no call, no show, which is disappointing. But
Hmm.
yeah, my success rate probably about 40% from people I ask to people that are actually on.
Well,
And then
in
I,
my
I keep
case,
track of that on our spreadsheet. So
right,
I know that if they no call, no show, I got that listed. So I don't ask
right.
them in the future. Or
Hmm.
if they didn't respond, I know that I've sent them something and I hadn't heard from them before. So
So
good.
in my case, the reason the number is high is that these are individuals who are reaching out to me for the show. Okay. And I filter, I don't accept everybody on my show, even though it may be uh, I had someone. I'm just had someone yesterday reached out to me, and I went through their text and all they typed up, and it was looking good. I don't mind going deep into spirituality. I don't mind going deep into any topic, especially Christian and faith-based stuff topics, because that's a large part of my life, my background. But when it comes down to saying certain things like how the government should be doing this with faith or that with faith, that's not a guess for me because I can see where you're going with this. Uh,
Mm.
and so I just clicked not interested for right now and moved on. And the individual reaches out to me again. I'm hitting the magical block button because
Mm.
I'm open to conversation and dialogue. I'm open to it talking about anything. But when you're targeting, I'm just saying, I was very direct yesterday with my show on immigration. When I see that you're going at the old spiel that I don't believe in, which and everybody can believe what they want to believe. Uh, this is a Christian nation, and we must have a state-rise religion. Then you don't know your history because that was part of Rome's downfall. Rome made Christianity part of the state as a state religion, and that's a whole nother conversation we could talk about. Because I carry all that information in my head, and I've studied it for so long as a novice. So I see you reaching out to me to be on my show, like that individual did, and that's the majority of your bio. Then if I hit you with a question, well, let's look at America as a whole. Uh, let's look at the founding fathers, what they actually believe versus what you've been told. Then you'll get uncomfortable. Then you'll realize you're on the wrong show. I just saved the headache. But
Mm.
if you're looking at, oh yeah, we got open round table discussion about it. We cool. I ain't gotta agree with you. You ain't gotta agree with me. But I was that guy who lived in that box. I was an evangelical. I was that guy who lived in that box as ultra conservative. I was that guy who grew up in the Bible Belt, they say. So yeah, but that was one individual. Or if you come with me, like I've denied several people since I've been on that site, uh, because what they sent to me and some of the stuff they sent to me when I clicked it open, my safety protocols let me know it's a spam website. Click buy, no block. As far as reaching out to people, I've reached out to a couple people that I was sure I could be on their show. Not heard a word back. Bios, shows lined up like yours did. I haven't heard a word back at all. One of them lives right here in Raleigh. I was embracing the thought of meeting in a coffee shop and doing it right face to face, even if it's on the audio, like I did back in the day. That human
Mhm.
element in a human space, um, off the cuff, never reached back. That's their choice. They choose who they want to be on their show. Uh, those the other side of the numbers not being so great. Then I had this individual reach out to me. She sent me like you did a little snapshot of what's expected, yada yada. She booked me the next day. I'm going to her show. I think next in a few weeks. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. I like it when you can establish that line of communication where it's usually you can have a couple messages back and forth in a day, but certainly if it starts getting outside of 24 hours, then that starts to
Yeah.
get worrisome.
Or like you said, you send out messages and they never respond back. I'll send you two. I ain't sending you more than two.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
After
That's what I
after
do.
the, after the, after the second one,
That's
I'm not
it.
sending you anymore. That's it. Like the one I missed because the time zone issues in Texas. She's like, reach out to me future. Then I realized it's through an agent she has
Mm.
in the last email from her. So I'm going to another part individual to reach you. She's got. I gave him 24 hours. I haven't heard back. I've got the bio and the text saved. If she reaches back some future date, I just go to my Google Documents. I pull the same show back out. We'll run with that because I don't delete the stuff. I just save it for later. But I'm not gonna go past 24, 48 hours because I
Mm.
mean we had a technical hiccup for our time zone. And yeah, but the thing you mentioned earlier, I can't. reiterated enough. You and I are on the same page for that. Go outside of the service to use the direct email. And when the direct email no longer gets a response, goodbye.
Yeah. Mm.
That's a more powerful tool than any calendar, I think, because you know you're reaching that person directly.
Yeah. If you can't organize a time to meet to talk, what are you going to talk about if you do talk? So
Right,
it's a
right,
little
right.
pregame show, if you will.
Yeah, love premium. So yeah, and having the agent or third party, it's great if they actually gonna make sure you get the information. But
Yeah, I don't have the problem with the agent thing yet because I don't have an agent, so that's good. My people
no,
are me.
I don't plan on having an agent. I can use it's enough technology to simplify this thing. It's not my agent. And if the technology ain't there, even emails are technology. Like boom, let me shoot your email message. Or in my case, also I collect phone numbers. I meant failed to mention that on Calendly as well as Square. I collect the phone number. So if the email is not working, I will give you a courtesy call. One of the individuals coming on my show next week, he actually called me up because we had a time we missed the timeline, and he's serious about being on the show. So I took a chance it wasn't a spam number, and before I could answer it, I saw email pop up that I'm trying to call you because I want to be on your show. But that goes back to what you were saying, that one-on-one versus the system.
Yeah, got to establish that contact.
Yeah. But anyway, um,
So
I'm
then,
here.
podcasting is podcasting. When did you start with writing poetry?
Poetry and Batman, which I'm gonna throw in with it, comic book superhero. They, according to my therapist, were my lifelines. Which I'm still trying to reach out to my therapist now too, because we haven't had a session like since I quit jobs, and you know how that goes. Healthcare, you gotta make pay for the stuff. But so I started. My very first poem that I can recall ever writing was in what we used to call middle school, um, and it was entitled "I Am." I've rewritten my modern day version of it because that poem is long gone. Um, but the gist of it, because of this, uh, and it was all about, I didn't know it was a biographical poem of what I was feeling and experiencing. Um, this way I get kind of somber, I guess, because poetry was a lifeline for me. Didn't really realize I was writing poetry so much, but it became a lifeline. And I went off in and out of it over the years, writing, not writing, tying in with blogging, doing open mics, meetup group organizer, conducting writing groups and all that stuff. Uh, that personally, it was a lifeline for me. Uh, and the Batman side of it, because of being a childhood trauma survivor, I recall receiving a ride on toy, they call it nowadays, Batmobile. Someone gave it to me. I don't know how. I had to be a small kid. And then after that, people started giving me comic books in my family. And I attached myself to that comic book character in the sense of if he can survive anything, I can survive anything. So in a lot of my writing, even now, some of my speaking, I actually tie in that analogy in comparison to my own story. Uh, I was at a not anti-gun violence event here in Raleigh several years ago. They invited me up. My first gigs outside of something I had organized, and it's a poem I'm gonna share today from the book uh, at some point. And the keynote speaker ended up not being featured on the newspaper cover. They featured me in my poem instead because the way it was told, the lines within the poem. So poetry has been a lifeline for me. Uh, Batman as a survivor, overcomer, strong fighter has been a lifeline for me. Uh, Landing the correct therapist going on 4 years ago now, because my therapist and my wife came along same at the same time. So it's kind of cool to have girlfriend or therapist at the same time. I'm laughing about it now because she'll see this problem at some point. Uh, so that's how that goes together. And the therapy aspect of it was we had a session where she told me that at some point a lot of my memories would get unlocked. And whereas I thought they had already been unlocked, to doing open mics, doing workshops, to writing over the years. Very first Christmas with my wife, girlfriend at the time, I pulled up my laptop. I started rummaging through old poems I'd written, and Split was born. The book came about December 25th, 2021. And it's poetry and it's prose together. There's a biography part of it. Some of what you're asking me today and talking about today is in the book. Uh, Short book, hard read is what I would tell people. Short book, hard read. And it actually is in the podcast. See, I have a podcast I don't talk about entitled Perch, The Dark Side of Split. So instead of writing a second book, right now the second book is another podcast. So when I want to go over there and create content from Perch, I write story content and then I read from the script. Like Perch is talking, it's a narrator type deal. But even in Perch the character, that's the name of the character, he speaks in poetry. He speaks in a darker poetry. And my publisher suggested I include speak in the same voice I'm uncomfortable speaking with publicly. The Perch speech is in that uncomfortable voice for me. The voice that uses profanity, that voice that talks about rape, that voice that talks about murder, that hardcore voice that as Alfred wouldn't talk about in the way that Perch talks about it. That character I created. Who has his own podcast, which currently has had almost 180 downloads. I've only done 4 episodes in over 3 years. Something about it, people like going over there and finding it, and replaying
Where
it.
do you think that? Where do you think the poetry comes from?
Uh, the the poetry comes from me. Is honestly, I don't know. Other than it's, I was in a what we used to call English class back in the old days. Not literature class, English class back in the days in the 70s where they changed the name of it. And it was a writing assignment. And in the book, I named my teacher, Mr. George Wayhab. And I wrote that poem back then. And I haven't looked back since. But another genre I have considered is like blogging, um, and as well as, but that's it, blogging.
When I talk about where poetry comes from,
Am I
I
missing
think
a question?
when I when I write poetry,
Hmm.
I can tell when it's me, when it's
Hmm.
my ideas and
Yeah, I
whatever
don't use,
manifests
yeah.
through that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then there's also the time where it seems like it's coming from somewhere else, like you're an antenna or a conduit for some other something. The
Wait,
Romans would call it a muse or genius,
right,
but
right.
that's different than how we talk about genius. Like if we say, you're a genius, we take it as you're saying that person is. But the Romans would have
Oh, yeah,
said that's a genius is something outside of you that's working through you. The instrument,
yeah,
you're the instrument, not the hand, so to speak.
right. The book, yeah, I get what you're saying 100%. And that's where everything in my book is based off real life events, told poetically in a fictionalized version. Only things that are true to story is the biography part of it, which I actually name people that change names. And then the fictional end of it with Perch, I named the real life people that I built the storyline around. But as far as what you're saying, even when you open up the book, it's the very first thing in it is a quote by Socrates. That muse, that element, that voice, of which Socrates, and I'm gonna just say it now, fair there, it says, Socrates said, I decided that it was not wisdom that enabled poets to write their poetry, but a kind of instinct or inspiration, such as you find in seers and prophets who deliver all their sublime messages without knowing in the least what they mean. I made sure
Hmm.
that that was a quote I put at the beginning of the book. So before you see anything else, you see Socrates' quote, because what you're saying is that moves you in a medium from which all these things are as a poet. Yeah. Uh, Even though I've done writing workshops and they've all been freestyle because I want people to write from where they are. I want people to write from their core. And people have often asked me, "Who's your favorite poet? Who do you read a lot?" Do you keep? I'm like, if I name my favorite poets, they're probably dead. Uh, I like Longfellow. I like, um, God knows, Careful Last Tried, Too Pitiful Passing Road, but names are eluding me now. Uh, Charles Bukowski is my only really modern poet I really like because he wrote raw and to the point. And then some of the readings I've engaged in, I read from one of his books. Uh, but in those, Edgar Allan Poe, some of the darkest stuff ever. So someone said, "Well, you like the dark stuff?" I like the dark stuff because I'm a firm believer. Without the darkness, there'd be no light. It's just my take as a poet.
Yeah, you wouldn't know the difference.
Mm-mm. But anyway,
Gotta have the
that's.
contrast.
hmm
So, do you? Where do you think then that creativity originates?
I think creativity. Here's where my faith comes into play. I believe that there's a divine creator. There's an ultimate divine creator, regardless of how you call him or her, just how you believe. That divine creator gave everyone living one of us the ability to create something. Some do technology, some do writing, some do arts. Some never acknowledge their ability to create, but that's where it stems from, in my opinion, a divine source of supernatural space that we all have. Mm, My question to people is, are you willing to take that journey into yourself? Even if it's to ask yourself, am I a creator? That's not because you believe in a creator, but am I a creator? And some I've met have said no. Then I'm asked them, did you not create a cup of coffee this morning? How about a cup of tea? Did you make your breakfast? What did you do for yourself? Oh, in that context, you are a creator. You took something and made it for yourself. You didn't have to smile at your baby when they get up this morning, but you created a smile in relation to your child. So creativity takes many forms. But in my opinion, it goes back to that supernatural, unexplainable part of ourselves.
Do you have times that you set aside to regularly write, like where you say, I'm going to not do anything else but focus on writing at this moment? Or how do you schedule your writing?
I'm writing. The only time I really set aside to writing is when I'm creating content for my show. Anything else is randomly pops and pops up. I have been, I won't say piss poor. I don't really focus on writing poetry anymore right now. I get some thoughts in my head, which can require me blocking out time to sit down. And when I do, I would do that. And words come fairly easy for me, plus me using dictionary.com when I write. Think help formulate some things. Uh, so when I do sit down to write, and brainyquotes.com, because I use Brainy Quote to build my show around some things. Uh, so when I block out that time primarily to write for the podcast, yes, that's blocked out. Uh, and I get lost in it sometimes. Sometimes I start something like 10 minutes and goes to like 45, 50. Because I see this guest has certain things I want to bring out of them, and I want them to bring to the table. So in writing, I will start out really long, then get it down really short to maybe 5, 6, 7 lines. As far as the poetry part goes, I have some 4-liners, 4 or 5-liners. I have some that takes me a minute or two to recite. It all depends on how the flow goes. And when it comes to the flow of writing, uh, just making that space. Currently, we in the last couple of years shift some things around, make some things change or whatever. Um, so once those things are done, uh, I always get back to writing more outside of this. But if there's something particular that hits my heart, I usually put a post-it note down. I carry post-it notes everywhere, not just my phone, kind of old school. Uh, so I make a little gist on a note in the car, boom, to remind me what it was. Uh, Especially when something hit my heart, like your show. I'm like, that show title, my God, I could have stole that show title. Anyway, yeah, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
my writing is pretty much from the head. See, I'm not one of these textbook school writers, and I do not. Let me throw this out there. I am not one who believes in some of my poetry friends who do it that hard. They they cross their T's and they dot their I's, and that's their thing. I subscribe to different poetry groups, American Academy of Poets, and so forth. I am not the one to sit down and submit a particular poem to a contest of someone else. I tried when I was a member of a writers group and let them critique my work, and they dissected that particular poem to the point I didn't recognize my own work. So when I decided to lead my own writing groups, uh, I encourage everybody to write from their heart and leave it as it was. Like I do, it may not be what some college or some learned person may say. I'm a self-taught person. But if you give your true expression through your own words, you can always revise or maybe bring someone in to help you revise it. But don't let your words be taken to a point where they're not your words anymore,
mm,
especially in poetry. Because people have read my stuff and I've read other people's stuff. You get 10 different opinions of the same poem. It's like looking at a freaking accident. 5 different people see the same accident and it's not don't see it the same way.
good point.
That's the writing style. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how good writing groups are for poetry. And I mean, I've been in a bunch of different writing groups, and
Hmm.
some of them seem to get to the point where it's a contest, and then it's time to move on to another group.
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
if they start saying, "Well, how would you rate this?"
Hmm.
Give me a grade of ABC, then it's like, oh man, this is not. I came to a writing group to talk to people that were creative minded, that were
Hmm.
hooked into something else. And it's not so much about the work that I put in there or the work that they put in there. It's the connection for me was talking to the people. And
Thank you.
that's what the podcast is all about, is talking to
Yeah.
creative people. Like I'll
Right.
listen to the work and I'll tell you my opinion on it. I don't And I'll read your book, but I don't want to sit around a table and tear somebody's writing apart. Now, if it's
It's just-
bad, then I'll say you probably need to run it through Grammarly or something.
yeah.
But you get somebody to edit it just so it makes sense, because that's
Yeah.
the great that it can be followed. That was the great
Hmm.
advice I got from a creative writing teacher, which
Hmm.
was the overwhelming always is, does it make sense?
Does
Can
that
you
make
understand
sense?
it? So it
Right.
doesn't like punctuation doesn't bother me so much, but I don't want
Man.
it to distract from the work. So
Right.
give it to me. And if there's a thing you're doing with punctuation, especially in poetry, I'll pick it up. But if there's no thought to it, I'm going to also see the chaos in it. And then I'm going to be more focused on that than the work. And if
Yeah.
you're writing a story, then it should be a story, beginning, middle, end. It should have something at the end of it. I should be able to explain what I just read or what I just heard.
Hmm. Hmm.
But as far as
Uh,
assigning grades to things, that's not my view of writing groups.
oh no. Oh no. I agree with you. Because if that was the case, then they would have modern day writing groups would have shredded E. E. Cummings.
Mm.
He didn't write with any punctuation or capitalization.
Then the
A lot of his
lowercase,
work.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, and that's another one of my favorite boys. They like to read. Like, and Tennyson's another. But yeah, I kind of like it. So yeah, like the greatest thing I ever learned from any writers group was to be very direct in what you're saying, whether it's a long poem or a short poem. This is the greatest thing I ever took away from a writers group. So, in order to be concise.
Mm.
Some people want to read along, some don't. But if you can make the more concise you can be with what you're saying, the easier it will be received by the reader. Uh, and so therefore some of my stuff is real short. And some is what I consider long, 3 minutes long, if you read it out loud. And that's where, like I said, I had my thing with the writers group. Uh, and what you're saying, I, man, I can relate to so much of that. You bringing back memories. And they were great people, but it wasn't a
Yeah,
great
that's the
place for me. It wasn't
that was
for
the
me.
best part of the writing group was meeting the strange people.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of strange people in the world, but are you on the same wavelength enough to where you can talk kind of the same language? Like if you
Yeah.
talk to a poet, you know you're talking to a poet
Yeah.
because especially if you're a poet yourself, you can go, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, they're talking about the same things that I wrestle with. So I got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Let's go
Yeah.
get something to eat and talk about whatever." You know?
Yeah.
So that was the favorite part for me of those was the meeting after the meeting. So,
Yeah. That was kind of like when I had a team of people who were leading conducting writers groups through Try a Poetry Meetup, which was the name of my group back in the day. We would do an open mic sometimes out in the park, like in Winston-Salem or something. And after it was all over, we would go out to somewhere like IHOP. We'd sit around a table. We would critique the event as a whole, but not so much the people. We could do better. How could we do this different? Get more people engaged. Man, one of the greatest poems I ever heard read was an impromptu poem by a toddler.
hmm,
She was in the audience. We was in Winston-Salem. Can't remember where we're at because I had a teammate to find the spots over there. And I always encourage kids when I had little kids up to come up and read. And she was big enough to read, not Tyler really, maybe what kindergarten, first grade, something like that. And she kept playing with her little pink elephant. And I'm like, "Look, girl, you want to say something in the microphone?" And mom like, "It's okay," but her sister talker, and her sister was quiet at night. And the little one with that pink elephant, she kind of nodded her little head. I said, "You tell us a poem about your pink elephant?" And she went up there, and we held the microphone down to her mouth, and her words were poetry to our ears as she spoke about her pink elephant. That child's 10, 12, 13, 15 years old somewhere right now, probably older. But someone gave her a chance to tell her story about her pink elephant. Another one, uh, when we're doing open mics, a friend of mine who, if she catches this in a format, her son's a full-grown adult now. He at the time was a poor reader, piss poor reader and writer, and decided to tie in a little writing exercise with the open mic. And they were just a random group, church group out in Greensboro, walking, taking kids around different places. And we had at the time this was in a coffee shop. They had a gazebo outside. I still keep the little business card from that coffee shop, long gone. How they gave us our place to go to do poetry on the lawn under the lights. And we did a little thing inside, and we went outside. We get dark lights. And this young man, uh, his mother said, what can you do to get him writing?" I said, "Same thing everybody else. We pull a piece of paper out, we start writing. Whatever they write, they share. And they open to sharing it." And this young dude that grew up, went to college from not wanting to read or write, still been giving an invitation around other kids. Do I want to go back to doing those types of events again? Maybe someday. They require a lot of work and a lot of planning, having found the venues, all that stuff, and that all plays back into poetry and the podcast and everything else. I have stories connected to how it evolved to where it's at now, real life people, and the impact that your words and my words have one a little toddler, almost small kid, to a teenager. And yeah, but the majority of my podcast is not according to what I'm seeing, the people that are over 21 that listen to it. But it came from foundations like that of writing
Yeah.
poetry and hearing people tell stories.
So with your book, how long did it take to write it? Like, were you using stuff? I know you have the rewritten version of your poem from middle school, but how what's the breadth of work that is fit into that book?
The book covers the years from 1979 to 2021 in 72 pages as a synopsis of those years. December 25th, 2021, less than 20 feet from where I'm at now, speaking to you, I pulled my laptop out, set it up, and that Christmas Day, instead of spending our first Christmas with my wife, I started writing. Just like my therapist literally said, my memories started opening up. The things I forgot, things I suppressed, things I thought didn't want to think about. And the part about going through all the boxes I happen to have here, some older poems and things tucked away, printed out. And when I got to a point where some of my memories connected to certain timelines, I would pull that stuff out. And then I retyped it into the book, into the Google document. So that process began that morning, and the book was finished that evening. Now, I have self-published a couple other books before that. However, my oldest son, I'm giving a shout out to him, Tidy Up Studios in Atlanta, um, only African American owned audiobook producer in Atlanta, award-winning Grammy-nominated company. On his bucket list, which I didn't know at the time, was to start a publishing house in addition to his bread and butter business. He had mentioned to me that if I tried to write a book, decided to write a book again, I would hand it over to him. And that's all. He would get it done, as he said. And so when the manuscript was finished, I made the phone call. I emailed the rough draft, just raw as it was, to him. And somewhere between 2021 and 2023, he got the work done on it pro bono for the audiobook version of it. He reached out to narrators whom I've never met, 5 narrators in Split. I've never heard any of my poetry in a female voice. So I write in a female voice. I thank these same narrators by means of Instagram once it came out. Still haven't met them face to face. They read the manuscript. They decided to give their voice to it without payment because of working with him and his other company, Tidy Up Studios, in part. Uh, so a day, the book was written, manuscript handed off in a day, and kept wondering how long because you can self-publish a book overnight pretty much in this day and age. Uh, once they once he got he got the cover design tested. They did everything a publishing house would do. Tested the cover design, proofreaders on it, things I never had before. uh, he did come here to Cary to record about a minute and a half of me in a set up a mobile studio. So my voice is in it for like a minute and a half. Uh, and then he took that back to Atlanta, and did whatever they do, and it's in the book. Uh, and then October 2023, he kept telling me it's going to be released soon. It's going to be released soon. It's going to be released soon. It's been submitted. It's going to be released soon. An audiobook. And October 8th, 2023, my wedding day, it was released. October 9th, I logged on to Spotify to listen to somebody else's podcast. Now my book popped up. My
Nice.
book popped up. I'm like, what? Because he kept telling me he didn't know. And then after Spotify popped up, I get an alert. It's an Apple Books. And then I get an alert. It's an Amazon. And then I get an alert. It's in Barnes and Noble as audiobook. And then I see, oh, it's print copy as well. The print copy paperback came out in February of 2024. So I'm like, the wait was worth it. Having someone in your life who does things. And last conversation I had with him about the whole topic of the book is I'm gonna surrender all the rights to you for the book because currently I get hardcore sales, face-to-face sales, and all the online sales goes to him. Uh, so at some point he'll give me the document, he'll sign off. Now I have total ownership of my book for all the profits. But that was kind of agreement we made. Online, go your way, because I have no front money. I get to put a dime into any of this production, and that could be when I did the research on it. It's expensive getting one narrator. He had four
Yeah.
who dedicated their time, and they're all award-winning narrators from all over the country. That floats in his A-lister space, as I call it.
Nice.
So 2 years from manuscript to production to outside of the podcast. That's one of the most passionate things I talk about because in the paperback form of it, it's 3 pages of mental health resources in the back. I didn't want anyone else to struggle like I did for years without having access to resources if they purchase a paperback version or they know someone in their family. So when they get to the very end of it, it's like pages and page after page of 800 numbers and resources you can reach out to someone for yourself or someone else.
Hmm.
So they won't be lost in the darkness like I was.
Yeah, there's a lot of like YouTube videos about self-publishing. You can look at a lot of different self-publishing
Yeah,
houses, look
it,
at
it doesn't take much.
Amazon, KDP, and all that.
Yeah.
It's you can get lost in it and planning and then never actually do anything. So
Mm,
yeah, you gotta get it done and then find a way to
yeah.
get it published.
But like I said, I was fortunate to have someone who had on his bucket list to go that route. Uh, and when I speak of my eldest son and his company, Tied Up Studios, I recall when he started selling music beats in high school through the college years at Appalachian State. I didn't even know he had failed his first business attempt as being an audiobook producer to now being a Grammy-nominated audiobook producer and having a general manager that's managing his company for the most part, or someone running it while he's on the road traveling all over the world, living his life and doing things. Um, so still getting paid. They just had I can't remember the guy's name. I can look it up, but I'm not. In Black Panther, the one that played opposite T'Challa, the heavyset dude for the other tribe, they had to have an audio book, audio original out. It just came out a few weeks ago. Audible original book. That took 2 years of production with him and his people.
Wow.
It's a fictional story. So, and plus, he gave me heads up. He said, "Dad, your book's gonna be coming out on the heels of one of Amanda Gorman's books. So poetry gonna be kind of in. We're gonna have we gonna have tension to poetry turned our way as a company because we did a book for her. And so when your book gets released around that same time frame, they're kind of looking out back to like our direction because they rarely ever do poetry books, but they did one for her, and it came out around the same time as well as Mel Blazing Saddles. That Mel guy, I can't think of his name. Mel Brooks. They just
Hmm.
finished two books by them. So my book came out close to the same time period as theirs did from his company
Okay.
with his name attached to it. But yeah, because I can go on and on.
So then the plan for the future is podcasting. And then are you doing any other books, working on anything like that now?
I'm thinking about finally taking Perch and actually writing his own poetry collection in that dark voice, not just leaving it as a podcast. And that in all likelihood will probably be a self-published work through KDP or used to be Smash Words. They've changed their name now. I re-signed them with them under their new name. One of the earlier PDO type company books. but I'm strongly thinking about having shared this with my wife so she catches that's the first time she hear about it. Is
Mm.
actually dedicating time to take Perch and Perch the Dark Side Split and turn it into a poetry collection, which would be totally really gritty. And I can't see a bright spot at the end of it because the story of Perch is basically about a child who was left to die, who was given himself a chance in life, who some kind of way had a metaphysical experience and became an anti-typical hero. Um, to the point he can communicate with the dead, like some of those comic book characters we heard about. Uh, but yeah, that's so. This is the first time y'all are hearing about this, my dear wife. You catch this podcast first time you heard about your husband looking at taking Perch off the podcast and putting it in paperback or digital form of the book. Uh, Thanks for asking that question because it's aching. It's like it's it's not finished yet, bro. I really want to
Yeah,
give his voice a different place. Yeah. So and I
that's
can't
how.
seem to get speed under with the podcast yet. But if I start writing, it'll be there.
Yeah, that's how books seem to go. Is they just build up, build up, build up until you can't help but do it instead of.
Yeah, because the podcast, and even if I just write it out and just record each section of the book as a podcast, but the urge to finish putting pen to paper on his narrative is there.
I mean, it
Uh,
sounds like it'd be a good graphic novel. So maybe
that's
that's
the
something
word.
to look
Thank
at.
you.
There.
You gave me the right word. Let me write that down real quick. I'm being serious. Graphic novel. I could never think of the right term for that for Perch. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Wrote it down.
Yeah. Given
Yeah.
the link to Batman and all that,
Yeah.
I think it's
Batman's
more
about
than a comic book, and I think graphic novels to me are more adult than a comic book.
yeah, that's why I get pretty much more Batman graphic novels thing.
So you
But
got the darkness and art and writing and thoughts all
yeah.
mixed together. It's good
And see
stuff.
the thing about Purge though, Purge don't even deal with the Batman aspect of it. That's my personal story. Purge
Right.
deals
Well, I
with
mean,
yeah, right.
it's
Purge
it's
deals
in
with
you, so it's in that. So,
yeah. Purge deals with excuse me. I chose the name Perch because it's like a bird watching over something. Okay, so or eagle eye perspective. But that character, his name is actually Perch. But part of my childhood, what makes it kind of autobiographical, I'm just gonna throw it out there. You tell me keep going. We're not gonna go to 4 hours like the last person did. But now instead of just ad libbing it, because this is real life places. Since the introduction to Perch, according to what I was told by Miss Del Zora, the lady who raised me from my no, since introduction from Perch, Alfred has spoken. Now I will speak. My name is Perch. According to what I was told by Miss Del Zora, the lady who raised me from my infancy, I was buried alive after my birth in a tree-covered field between a fence made of scrap lumber and a holy place. My bloodline grandmother left my tiny body for a short while in a shallow grave, and until a small piece of conscience pricked pricked what was left of her wounded heart caused her to retrieve me, sparing my life. This is how I ended up living with Miss Del Zora, who, for a better choice of words, was a practitioner of Christianity blended with African spirituality. Oh, why did I say that? Alfred has now spoken, and now I will speak. When I became a teenager, three things happened. Miss Del Zora told me I had a half brother. I was given a Christian baptism in the Pungo River, per black church tradition. And upon exiting the water, I received mental as well as spiritual clarity as who my father was, plus some unique abilities because of my fraternal bloodline. Now, I will share some of my life story, an altered story that started in the small town of Safe Harbor. Safe Harbor, where the innocent was sacrificed for the pleasures of the living and resurrected by the children of the gods who have roamed the earth. And still do, some believe, as spirit like beings, manifesting themselves as humans to avenge the blood of anyone taken without just cause. Bullet points, real quick, as I introduce the purge in my book at the end. Mr. Azora was real. My grandmother used to walk me to Miss Deozora's house. As an adult, I come to learn she, what we call roots in the country, was a mixture of Christianity and African spiritism that was passed down to her. I name her by name because people will know her. Safe harbor is the definition of my hometown. My hometown is Belhaven, North Carolina. But I looked at what Belhaven means. It means safe harbor. So people that grew up there will connect this if they get those who have gotten the book. Pongo River, Eastern North Carolina River. My hometown sits on the Pongo River. Safe harbor sits on the Pongo River. Only difference was Perch was born out of that supernatural African spiritism thing that I was associated with, and therefore the character has his own life as that person. And I took a picture. You let me read that thing. I don't really go to Perch because Perch is so. The very first poem in which he speaks is about a bag. Is entitled "Byproduct." Hashtag she. When you read the poem, that she was a byproduct of a bad fuck. If I can use that word up here. And by the time Perch arrived on the scene, she was dead to give her life again because he had those abilities to breathe new life in lives that were taken abruptly. But anyway,
I mean,
I don't
it
usually go
sounds
into
like a
Perch that
good
deep.
sounds like a graphic novel to me.
Yeah, I don't usually go that deep into Perch because he's got like the last 2 or 3 pages, and people read all the good stuff about me coming out of this and my relationship and dating my wife and all the other good parts, and they get to the end of it and they flip the page and you got that until you get to the mental health. That's why the mental health resources are in the back because I've had people that have trigger point moments. Actually, my second book signing in Greensboro, the lady had one of the poems I read was a trigger for her. So we talked her through some things, and I didn't read it in a Perch. I just read some of the other ones, like Invisible Girl. The final line is that she starved herself again so she could once again become beautiful. But those body shaming people. But anyway, I've been rambling on and on. So you
It's
don't
good
get me
stuff.
talking, man. Don't
What
get me talking.
maybe to close things out, what are some of the things that writing has taught you? Like if you were explaining important reasons to write or why you write.
Writing is freedom. Writing is the one freedom you give to yourself. It's not a freedom you gain from your job, your business, being in a relationship. Writing is you and your words. It's freedom. So write. If you write a sentence, write a sentence. If you write a word, write a word. Writing is give you take advantage of the one true freedom you have is writing. And to do it
Anything
whenever and wherever.
anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't, or any thoughts in closing?
My thoughts in closing are these. I'm trying not to be long winded with them because I repeated it so much in different people. Uh, I'm 62 years old. I've been blessed to see 62 years, about to be 63. My mom didn't live past 50. Okay. We have people dying every day. We see it in the news everywhere. Don't let a day go by without. Oh, there's your music. I'm
Sorry,
sorry. Don't
wrong
let a day
music.
go by. I'm going to wrap it up. Don't let a day go by without asking yourself, am I living out my true self? And if I'm not, what can I do to live it out? And if possible, those thoughts down somewhere. So if you don't write them down, you will forget them. Those are my thoughts. You you got me revealing and talking about stuff I would only have talked about an open mic or some other event. But the thoughts been written down. I just repeated what was already written. ad libbed a lot of it, but it was already written. Came out 2021. I had my release, my writing, my biggest release. So write it out.
What's the best way for people to follow your work and be able to find your books and your podcast?
Um, I think I sent to you the link tree.
I got
Yeah.
it in the show notes.
Okay. You hit the link tree up. It has all the key places, the YouTube channel, particularly where I'm at now. Split is there. Podcast link is there for both the audio and YouTube channel. So follow me, hit my link tree up, and follow me on either one of those places, YouTube or the podcast itself through Podbean audio version. As far as the book goes, purchase it through Spotify and other places. Or if you're not interested in going to YouTube, follow the podcast. Hit me up on Spotify. Again, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. I have rarely came across a person that doesn't have access to either one of those. Um, so those are the top three for the podcast goes. And YouTube, of course, Life is About More Than Living podcast YouTube version. Uh, Definitely hit me up on YouTube because on that one, you're gonna get some reels, you're gonna get some live streams, some out in these streets as we see in the country. But definitely YouTube because I'm loving this video form of doing this whole thing now. It's a whole new energy to it, y'all. So yeah, but those are the places. Hit the link tree; it gives you access to all of that.
Nice. I have your link tree in the show notes for people that are interested, as well
Mhm.
as a couple of other links like Podbean, YouTube,
Yeah,
Instagram, and then your fan
appreciate
base
that.
app.
Yeah, man, appreciate it because Instagram is the one I often neglect, and it's one of the easiest ones to go on. That's why I tested it out this morning, streaming
Yeah,
over
that'd
there as well.
be good to get the stream on there.
Yeah,
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's good
man, I
stuff.
appreciate you, man. Thank you, man.
I
You
will
gave me the opportunity.
yeah, it's good stuff. Podcasting, talking to people. It's good.
Yeah, man.
I'll talk to you on the other side of this musical exit here.
All right.